Yes. Okay. Okay. Happy Monday. Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to another edition to Pop Culture Power. Of course, I'm your host, Crystal Jordan, and we are about to have a good time today. I hope everybody had an amazing weekend. I had a pretty good weekend, a little bit of work, a little bit of play. That usually makes a weekend good around my parts. As long as I get to get in a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of work, push those things together, and we're right back at Monday. Right back at Monday, ready to talk about today's topics. But the first thing, we have had over the last couple of days, it hasn't even been weeks, it has been days. We have had just lost some amazing icons. We lost James Earl Jones earlier last week, and then actually yesterday, or I think the day before yesterday, it hasn't quite been, it might have been late the Saturday, or it could have been Sunday. But we lost Tito Jackson, one of the legendary, iconic. I mean, I hate to even use those words because you can't really use the same words for the Jackson 5 that we use for artists today, because I feel like it's two very different things. But but that those are the only words that we have. So we lost. He was a legend. He was a part of, I think, one of the most infamous families in music history. I don't think we'll ever see another family like the Jacksons. I can just say, well, first of all, I want to say I had the pleasure or the honor of meeting Tito, and I actually, this was a few years ago. This is probably about 5 or 6 years ago. He was promoting something that they were doing, and he came to Atlanta. He was doing press, and I was at Fox. I do a segment on Fox 5, and I was actually in studio that day to do it. This was before COVID, and he was there. And I remember thinking, wow, like, first of all, that's Tito Jackson. And there's something about the Jacksons that you kind of just feels regal, even when they're just dressed down and chilling, because he had on like some shell toe Adidas and like an Adidas jacket and some jeans. But I do remember the jeans were pressed so hard. There were like creases in the jeans. But he was the nicest person, very, very nice, very, very, like, you knew just looking at him that he was a Jackson. But he was just very, very cool, very, very easy to talk to, and just, very just a very nice guy. I actually ran into him twice, but that time I had a chance to actually talk to him. And it was weird because for me, I remember I was always a kid that loved music. I think as a writer, music just kind of went hand in hand with that. And so I would write this, and this is going to date me, but that's okay, because I'm honoring a Jackson. But I was in love. My mother introduced me to the Jackson 5 cartoon. I don't know if anybody else would watch that, but I loved watching the Jackson 5 cartoon. And Tito was the one that always had the guitar, right? And he was just like kind of shorter and maybe like a little chubbier than the rest of them. But yeah, it was just so to see him and have a chance to meet him was definitely an honor. Definitely, like I said, we lost James Earl Jones, and then Frankie Beverly, and now Tito Jackson. And I think for me, like Tito Jackson represents a part of the Jackson, legacy. We know that we lost Michael. I was a big, 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 and still am Janet Jackson fan. You cannot tell me nothing about Janet Jackson. But I remember loving to watch the Jackson 5 cartoon, even as a teenager myself, and it was definitely a much older cartoon. I would watch the Jackson 5 and Fat Albert. So we want to just say rest in peace to those families. It's like the end of an era. Like James Earl Jones was 93 years old. Tito, I believe, was 70 years old. And I cannot remember how old Frankie Beverly was, but he definitely lived a very long life. I know that I mentioned the other day, the thing that really stuck out to me about Frankie Beverly is I had the opportunity to see him at Essence, and he did not perform the way that he used to, but he was still there. And wow, to be able to be doing, I believe he was in his 80s, to be able to be doing what you love to do and what God has blessed you, the gift and the talent that God has blessed you with well into your 80s, and to leave this world still doing it is a huge blessing. So, and we know that all three of those men were doing still very much active in their purpose. James Earl Jones is the voice of Mufasa, and for those Disney fans out there, you guys know I'm a big Disney fan. You know that the movie Mufasa will be hitting theaters this Christmas season. So I look forward to covering that. And I know that there's going to be an opportunity for people to really, honor him and his legacy, because so many people didn't even know him. So many kids were introduced to his voice as Mufasa, right? And so those of us that know him as an actor and know him from reading the Bible and just so many other things, I remember him in Claudine. um, he was just and coming to America as the father, and as King Joffrey, was it I can't remember his last name. I know it was Joffrey something. But yeah, very, very, very very iconic, just amazing examples of Black excellence. So just wanted to mention Tito and that fun story that I have from sitting down and talking to him at News Channel in the morning, and those very, very creased Levi's, I believe they were, that he had on. But we got to get into this week's pop culture power topics. If you have a topic that you want me to talk about, or that you think should be brought to the table today to discuss, feel free to make sure you put that in the comments. What's up, Cachet? What's up, Cherry Redhead Poppin'? Thank you guys for tuning in. Along with everybody else, please put an XO in the chat so I know that you guys are there with me. I mentioned today the first thing we're going to have to talk about is this is not a reality show, but I feel like it might as well be, right? We might as well be living in a reality show with these two right here, right? It is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And now we see that this over the weekend, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck were seen having like a lunch together. They were seen actually like kissing and holding hands. And the interesting thing is that it wasn't just them by themselves, but they were also joined by their children. And I remember wondering when all this stuff happened, like, how do their kids feel about this? Because they had this grandiose wedding. They have this romance that is very, very, the public is very much a part of, just because it's JLo and Ben Affleck. And we remember Bennifer from years ago. I do want out of their group chat as well. But I think this is, for a channel where we talk about relationships, this is a good example of, toxicity at its best. And the reason I say that it's toxicity at its best is because it's obvious that Jennifer Lopez has some things, right, that she has not worked through. And when you date and get into relationships without working through your stuff, then you involve other people in it. Now, I also think this is proof that compatibility is important. Like, you can like someone so much, But if what makes you tick is different than what makes them tick, then it's very difficult to actually make that work. And when you ask, why would I say that? Well, this is why. Ben Affleck has been very, very vocal about the fact that he does not enjoy the public and very intrusive parts of fame. He does not like being famous. He likes acting. He loves his career, but he does not enjoy the fame and the paparazzi and the I'm going to be involved in every bit of your life. And he does not, it makes him nervous. It does not mesh well with his personality, right? If we look at like who he tends to be around, even if we look at his ex, Jennifer Garner is very subtle and a lot more understated than Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez is the opposite of understated. She is the opposite of subtle. She comes in like a wrecking ball, to quote Miley Cyrus. She is everywhere. The paparazzi are there. She leans into the paparazzi. She uses that. That's a big part of her brand, right? Is the self just extremely into self and extremely into sharing and extremely into being in the moment and being a trending topic, right? That's Jennifer Lopez. So from the time that she was dating Diddy and the two of them were making, appearances together, like Jennifer Lopez loves the spotlight. She cannot get enough of the spotlight. So their personalities are very different. I mentioned Ben Affleck's ex, which was Jennifer Garner. But we realized that one of JLo's exes, A-Rod, which was, I think, her ex right before, it's hard to keep up because she goes through men pretty quickly. But I believe that A-Rod was her ex right before she got back with Ben. But the difference between Ben and A-Rod is A-Rod loves the celebrity life as well. So he and Jennifer Lopez were in a spread together. They were like, she's taking pictures of herself. She's taking selfies. The paparazzi's taking it. He's taking pictures as well. Like they just seem more suitable for one another because they both have the same, they're extroverts, right? They like being in front of people. They love being in the spotlight. They both feed off of it. Ben Affleck is the exact opposite. So even his friend, Matt Damon, you don't see Matt doing a lot of that either. Very, very different energy as a JLo, right? And the people that she's around, they like to be out. If she's out promoting, she's out. She's giving the cameras what they want. One of there's a quote there was an interview that Ben Affleck did, and he mentioned that the level of celebrity that Jennifer Lopez has is very dangerous. He does not like it. We know that he's also very private for his children, and his children are thrust into this. Now, when they first got back together this time, I remember seeing a picture of the two of them kissing, and the kids were right there, and the paparazzi was snapping. And I was like, I wonder if Ben Affleck is okay with that. Like, does he like the fact that his children are now a part of this, craziness, this crazy world that Jennifer Lopez brings to the table? Well, he actually talked about it. He said he does not like that. You guys see my dog is just doing her thing over there. So when I saw the kids with them in this recent photo, we see that they're all out, they're actually kissing, and then the kids are there in the background. I thought about a few things. Number one, Jennifer Lopez just did a red carpet. She just went to France and did a red carpet for an upcoming movie that she has coming out. While she was there, she actually was seen talking to Matt Damon and Matt Damon's wife, right? So I'm assuming if she's talking to her estranged husband's friends, good friends, she's probably still in love with him. She's probably trying to figure it out. They're probably counseling them, right? Them both. Now, the interesting thing was, up until that instance in France, Jennifer had been out by herself. She was celebrating her birthday. We did not see her and Ben together on her birthday. And she was like, again, doing her Jennifer Lopez thing, out sending some subs about, how the fact that she was doing fine and all this, like over the top. I don't want to say narcissism because I think that's kind of that may be a little over the top, but she definitely likes attention, and she definitely likes to post to get attention and to get people talking. I think that's worked in her benefit, over the last 3 decades, because that's why she's as big as she is. I don't know that she's necessarily a better singer. I don't know that she's definitely a better actress. I don't know that she's actually a better dancer than a lot of people. What I think that she excels at is making things feel big and using her beauty and her sex appeal to make everything that she's doing with her career even bigger, right? And that works really well when you show up on the red carpet looking amazing. Now, I will say Jennifer Lopez is undeniable. She does not miss on the red carpet. Hair, makeup, everything is always flawless. She's always just at the crux of like fashion, being fashion forward and being feminine and showing off her femininity in a way that is just usually like gorgeous. She does it flawlessly, right? So I'm gonna give you got to give credit where credit is due. But when it comes to outside of that, we don't know much about what her life is like outside that. We know that she likes to show out. We know that she likes to show up and show out, but I don't know outside of showing up and showing out, what is that home life like? The big wedding that they had in Savannah here in Georgia, it was over the top. And you do all of that, and then less than a year later, you're right back at odds. And I guarantee you, if you guys looked at some of those videos, what's up, Scorpio Mo? Some of those videos of the two of them out where he just looks extremely over it. He looks uncomfortable. He looks very like he's got anxiety. It doesn't look like he's having a good time. The paparazzi and photojournalists have caught them at events, and they have caught them out, walking to the car. There's this one meme that went viral. I'm sure you guys have seen it, where he just like slams her car door, like, ugh. There's video of them out at events, and he just looks always overwhelmed and irritable, and she looks like, bring the cameras to me, right? So I just think when it comes to, sometimes you can love somebody. I think the two of them love each other, but I just don't think they are a good fit. I think she probably likes the things about him that are different than her. But I heard a long time ago, like, opposites attract, but people that are like-minded stay together. So the opposites attract. It could be fireworks. The intimacy may be amazing because it's usually like over the top. But the idea that you guys are so different, the older you get and the more you get set in your ways, it's kind of like, it doesn't really stay together. So opposites attract, but same ends up usually staying together. So I just hate that they're taking us through this and we have to keep dealing with this back and forth. Even the fact that she filed, like, I think she jumped to conclusions to file, because there's no way you guys could have went as hard as you did for this marriage and really have exhausted every possibility in this short period of time. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not enough time. It was a knee-jerk reaction. But like I said, the crazy thing is she been doing her own thing and trying to, show us that she's unbothered for months. And so now we just see, this is the first time seeing them back together. It was rumored that he was dating someone else. I don't believe that. I think a lot of times paparazzi are just trying to find a story, and we know anything with Jennifer Lopez is going to go crazy. And Ben Affleck probably would not go as crazy if he was not with Jennifer Lopez, but as long as he is anywhere near JLo, his life is going to be a reality show. So I'm not sure if they're back together. We know that we know that they're communicating and that they were seen kissing. There's pictures. This shot here is actually one of them on the red carpet a while ago, but there's actually video of the two of them together, walking, holding hands. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to be amicable. Maybe they're trying to make this an easier transition for their children, or maybe they're actually trying to make it work. Whatever the situation is, they're just not compatible, and they need to leave it alone. And I think for JLo, it seems like a part of her brand to also be in a relationship. Like, she seems to, she wants it all, as most women do, I guess. She wants the career, she wants the body, she wants the success, she's competitive, and she wants the amazing man by her side. And I don't know if if you're not focused on all of those things, it's hard to maintain them. So I think she definitely knows how to get a man because she's a beautiful woman. So she can get him, but she has a hard time retaining them because I think her focus is not on them once she gets them. Her focus is really on continuing to be the best and continuing to be the biggest star possible. And for someone like Ben Affleck, that may or may not be his goal. And according to his own words out of his own mouth, that's not what he's most focused on. We don't see him um, running, chasing the the latest blockbuster film. He seems to do projects that he really believes in, that he feels are a good fit. He's not chasing the trending topic, train. JLo, on the other hand, is doing that. Scorpio Mo said because she's getting old. I hate that mentality that men have about women aging, but I do think she could feel threatened at the fact that she is in her 50s. And I mean, she definitely looks great. And she keeps showing us that. But after a while, even if you look great, we've seen it all before. We've seen and heard it all before. So anyway, that is my I guess my perspective on JLo and Ben is this is two really incompatible people that probably are very, very attracted to each other. And that does not make a relationship work. Love is not enough. You have to have things in common and at least be focused on the same goals. And these two are definitely not that. So I'm hoping that this reconciliation, if that's what it is quick and painless, get it over with, and let's move on. Let's move on. And I really wish that JLo would just spend some time to figure out herself. I don't know if she needs more husbands. She's had quite a few. Someone called her the modern day Elizabeth Taylor. And as if you guys know anything about the story of Elizabeth Taylor, that did not end well. You go through all these husbands and usually just end up by yourself after all, because you were not doing it for the right reasons or in the right way. So if that is the pattern that she's on, then she may have a few more husbands, but at the end of the day, she probably will not retain them. Just saying. I did like him with Jennifer Garner as well. I also think, just before we move on, people's sources are saying that Ben Affleck was an alcoholic, and in order to to stay sober and to overcome that, you cannot necessarily be out partying all the time. You have to have a very different lifestyle. And if the person that you're in a relationship with doesn't respect that and does not understand and try to adhere to the fact that you're trying to stay sober, that can be difficult. So that's just something else that was said. And I could definitely see him being an alcoholic, because he has said very clearly that fame is something that he could do without. He's not comfortable with it. So when people aren't comfortable, they find ways to self-medicate or to deal with the issue. And probably being with Jennifer Lopez is probably making it worse. So hopefully, I really wish she would just stay with A-Rod. If she's going to do something, she's not going to be single, because that's just not what JLo does. I wish she would just go back to A-Rod. She doesn't, supposedly they broke up because he cheated. But I also think, as women, we have to realize you cannot get everything. And if this man has the vibe that you like, you guys both look good, you're both, seasoned people that are very into looking young. Like, if he's going to cheat every once in a while, maybe that shouldn't be a deal breaker, because you're going to keep going through men and keep trying to find something that does not exist. All her exes are like all over the place. Like the dancer that she married, we knew she wasn't going to stay with because he didn't have no money. Mark Anthony, who she married and had her babies with because he was Hispanic. And then she went back, and she's all over the place. And I think that, to me, her and A-Rod made the best couple, because they both like the bells and whistles. They are bells and whistles people. And she can do as many photo shoots and spreads and paparazzi, and he loves it. He's got a tan, he's ready, and he likes it. So I vote for the two of them to stay together. Diddy, I will I definitely knew she was not going back to Diddy. Do you guys remember how Diddy rapped about her and talked about her and could not get over her for years? And I think the reason that he could not get over her is because She left him and did not look back. And she left him probably because she realized this Negro was crazy and I don't want to be in this. This is bad for business. This is bad for my Hollywood star. I don't want any part of this dark side of him. And good for her. She left and she did not look back. She never looked back. I think she said they were friends, but every time people would say, well, maybe they'll get back together because he was making songs and all I need is, 5'5" but Dimples, potential wife, potential, but she never did want him back. And good for her. Good for her. Speaking of Diddy, I hadn't planned on talking about this, but I will say that the Don Richards with Danny Kane that was in the group that he put together on the MTV when he was on MTV and he had Making the Band. He had the girls from Danny Kane. He had Making the Band 1 and 2, and so Danny Kane came out of one of those shows, and after Danny Kane broke up because he couldn't, it was just too much going on. I believe Aubrey left, and it was just all over the place. Don and Kalina Harper, he connected with them in a group called Dirty Money, right? So I actually represented Kalina for a short period of time when she was in Dirty Money. I'm really good friends with her manager and really think she's very talented. And so I was kind of surprised. First of all, I was kind of surprised that Diddy created a group where he was in the group with two women. But I knew the women were talented, and we know that Diddy has been known to be able to make stars out of people that might not have necessarily been considered stars, right? He did that with the band. I mean, he just basically wants to prove that he could take anything and make a hit, a hit record with it, right? Maybe not long-term stars, but definitely people that are become a part of pop culture because of their connection with him. So Dirty Money was short-lived, but it definitely proved that there was a long-standing relationship between Don Richards and Diddy. Don was a part of Danny Kane. She wasn't necessarily one of the faces, the primary faces. I think most people think of Aubrey O'Day when they thought of Danny Kane, but Don was definitely a part of the group and went on to be in Dirty Money. Now, for Dawn to come out and say that she witnessed him hitting Cassie, she said her lawsuit is extremely detailed and really sad because there's so many details that are very, very, very uncomfortable to read. I'm not going to go through all of that, but it's just interesting how there are so many people that are automatically saying that she's lying, right? Because she didn't come out until now. And then coincidentally, what's going to make this harder and probably make more people believe that she is lying is that her group member, Kalina Harper, came out at the end of last week after Dawn's allegations hit the media and basically said that she does not agree. She did not experience any of the things that Dawn said happened, and Kalina is mentioned in Dawn's lawsuit as saying that she witnessed everything as well. So at this point, it's woman against woman, and I hate that. I hate that it comes down to people believing one woman over another and them, basically telling their truth, their own personal truths, which are directly in contradiction to one another. So if Dawn is telling the truth, then Kalina's lying. And if Kalina's telling the truth, then Dawn is lying. And that's unfortunate. I think the court of public opinion is always going to be hard on women. It's always going to be hard on victims. I think it's always going to be extremely hard on victims of very powerful people. So someone like Diddy, who has been on top for so long, like so long, he has been and his brand is always positivity and success. His brand is more success than positivity. I won't say it's positivity. It's definitely success. Sleep when I die, get to the top, don't stop, won't stop. All that is success driven, and it's success, monetary success, right? Worldly success, nothing to do with spiritual or emotional well-being or health at all. But that was what the 90s were really about. The 90s um, were celebratory of materialism, right? And things that were proof that as a Black person who has been oppressed, now I have everything that I wish I could have dreamt about. I've been able to accomplish it, and that makes me successful. Um, it's definitely dysfunctional and toxic, but a lot of times it's the type of toxic behavior and toxic belief system that people are okay with, because it's like, I don't want to be broke, so I'd rather be toxic and be wealthy and have this lifestyle, and they embrace it. Um, I just hate, because like I said, at the end of the day, this type of situation makes victims into bigger victims, because the court of public opinion usually is anti-woman. And if you wait to a certain point, now with her coming out with these allegations almost 2 years after, a year and a half, 2 years after the situation first started with Cassie, it definitely, is going to receive a lot of criticism. I just would say that when you have someone that is as powerful and as well respected and is as celebrated as Diddy, you got to know that coming out and saying anything anti him is probably going to get you blackballed or put you in a bad place. I also think that I'm sure there were other people that would have loved to share their stories about Diddy or tried to, and they were shut down, right? And so, for my just opinion, is that Dawn probably stayed quiet because she probably didn't know where this was going to go. Even those of us that are just fans or just, the public, I did not expect Diddy to have to um, be accountable for anything he'd done. You know what I mean? I know some, much smaller things that have been done, and he always seems to be able to get by without being accountable. And so I can't imagine Don actually believing that he would be forced to, deal with what he's done. So you got to think, if someone thinks this person is probably going to get off or he's not going to get in trouble, why would you tell? Why would you tell your story? Because you think it's going to probably end up with you getting persecuted and um, people not liking you, people talking bad about you, or saying that you're just upset because your career didn't take off. Like, there's all type, people are mean, and people love to hate victims, right? So I understand why she didn't say anything until now. I'm actually kind of surprised that she still said something now. But if that is her truth, I'm proud of her for saying it. And I do hope that one day we'll get to a place where people can be innocent until proven guilty, but I also think that victims need to be innocent until proven guilty as well, because we love to beat up on a victim if they are telling us something about someone that we like, right? If it's someone that um, is in good graces with the public, then we don't want to hear anything bad about those heroes. So I pray that Dawn has people around her that are strong, that are supporting her if what she's saying is true. As far as Kalina, I hope that she is sharing her truth as well, because if that's not the truth, that's really unfortunate that she would come out and say, something that isn't true. So I hope both of them are in a good space emotionally. And if that wasn't Kalina's experience, which I do want to point out, Kalina was married the entire time. Her husband was also her co-manager. And so in some cases, she could have been much more protected than Don was, just by having a husband, sometime having, and not just a husband, but a husband that was very involved with her career and everything that she was doing. So that they could have very different stories or very different experiences with Diddy, but 9 times out of 10, if Dawn is saying that Kalina saw something and Kalina is saying she didn't, that has less to do with her husband being around and more to do with, what one of them is lying, and we don't know which one as of yet. So Story is always developing, and we still don't actually know that Diddy is going to be held accountable for what he's done. He had to pay. So to some people, that's considered being accountable. But I think that a lot of the things that are being alleged against him are criminal, and having to pay money for committing criminal acts is not quite fair. So I would hope that if these things are true, that he would be held accountable in a criminal court eventually. But we'll see. We shall see. Moving on to one of the pop culture topics I wanted to talk about. I kind of talked a little bit about this last week, but I had a story come out in Collider a couple of days ago where I said Kirk Frost is the most disrespectful cheater in love and hip hop history. Again, Kirk Frost is the most disrespectful cheater in love and hip hop history. Now, a lot of people, when I made that very bold statement, said, Crystal, you cannot possibly have held Kurt as number one over Stevie J and over Peter Guns. And I actually believe that Kirk is worst, and I'm going to tell you why. What's up, D Glove? I'm going to tell you why I think that Kirk is the most disrespectful cheater in love and hip hop history. Now, the first thing is, okay, we're going to go to Stevie J because he was the first, right? Stevie J was a big time music producer back in the 90s. Coincidentally, worked with Diddy, was one of his hitmen, one of his right hand producers, right? So he comes from that camp. I don't know what lines you want to connect based on that, but yeah. So he comes from that era, and actually, when Mona Scott with Love and Hip Hop were able to secure him for the show, it was a big coup because he had the credibility of actually being a part of hip hop, right? And he was someone that was considered somewhat of a ladies' man. Now, and actually, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Stevie J was the storyline at first. Stevie J and his love triangle with his girlfriend Mimi Faust and his musical protege, Jocelyn Hernandez. Now, it got to be ridiculous. Mimi and Stevie were in a relationship and had a daughter. Jocelyn, he was supposedly only working with for music, obviously came out that they were intimate, and it was just a constant ish show the entire 3 seasons. I think we watched 2 or 3 seasons, and it was just foolishness the entire time. Now, after it was girlfriend. I don't know if they were living together, but it was very, very volatile. I think there were a couple of situations where they almost got into a fight, a lot of cursing. Stevie played both sides and the camera. He actually played 3 sides because he played Mimi, he played Jocelyn, and he played the camera. Now, later we found out that Stevie had orchestrated a threesome with Mimi and Jocelyn before. They didn't meet each other for the first time on Love and Hip Hop. And ultimately, Stevie didn't end up with either one of them, right? He ended up moving on. Now, the reason in that, I will say this, in that was a lot of hurt. Both women were crying constantly. I don't exactly understand why they were crying, because if they were knowing about this, and then it was just like Stevie wasn't even trying to act like he was going to do better. He was just like, we should all get along. Everybody get on my bus. I'm the good guy. Like, he wasn't ever really trying to say, I'm going to be a faithful man, which is why it was hard for me to understand the tears and the anger. It just seemed like a great opportunity to be on reality TV. Jocelyn obviously loves reality TV. Went on to do Jocelyn's Cabaret and a whole bunch of trifling stuff. Mimi actually went on to film a porn with a guy named Nico who kind of resembled a broke down Stevie J. So in my head, in Crystal's head, I don't feel like Stevie J was as disrespectful as Kirk, because even though he did have a child with Mimi and they were somewhat together, they were having threesomes with Jocelyn. Um, eh, he was always a cheater. Like there was nothing. They were not. He had not married her. Um, eh, it just doesn't give the same level of disrespect with a woman that you're not, number one, not married to. Number two, the relationship didn't seem as stable as Kirk and Rashida, right? For Kirk, he is fumbling a major bag. He is embarrassing his wife. He is humiliating his wife. Stevie wasn't humiliating or, you know, um, hurting his wife. It was one of the chicks that he deals with, right? And she carried herself as one of the chicks that he deals with. She definitely didn't have wife energy, right? Mimi did not. And it's proof. And if anyone would say, "Oh, Crystal, you're being mean," that's not true. The proof comes when she later created porn and put it out on purpose. Eh, not quite, not quite, not quite wife material. Something else, but not quite wife material. So that's why Stevie, I believe that Kirk is definitely supersedes Stevie. Now, moving on to Peter Guns. Peter, I think Peter is worse than Stevie. Um, because Peter, like Stevie would just say, "You got to get on my bus." He was very much in your face with it. So you can't really call him like the bad guy because he wasn't catering really to either one. He was kind of a jackass to both women. They chose to continue, but he didn't really try to, you know, sweet talk them or console. He was not really catering to either woman. So I feel like they chose to stay on their own. They signed up. They signed up for the foolishness to be on Love and Hip Hop. With Peter, I feel a little bit, I think he's like a close number two to Kurt because again, I gotta say, guys, there was no marriage. They were not married. Not that marriage makes it the hurt less because it doesn't. But I do think a man that will cheat on his wife, that he has children with, and they has a family with, who has taken in his children, and they're all a unit. I think that's worse than with a woman that you haven't really connected to, right? Now, true Edna, Peter did cheat on his wife and moved them into the same building. But this is the thing about Peter that is, I mean, Peter was unbelievable. The fact, first of all, can we just say the fact that Peter had one hit single and managed to flip that years later into a career based on cheating is kind of genius. His entire storyline, his entire brand on Love and Hip Hop was being a cheater. And later he went on to become the host of Cheaters. Hey, again, he's not necessarily husband material. Peter was talking to the girls, and I just want to say, Tara, he had children with Tara. He starts cheating on Tara and others with Amina. He doesn't have any kids with Amina. Now, he actually marries Amina, which is crazy. He stepped over Tara and married Amina, which made Amina think that she was, she had everything under control. And then he still kept sleeping with Tara. And it did go on. They were both pregnant at the same time. It did go on for years and years. And I'm gonna say this. I interviewed Amina, and I'm always just clueless when it comes to why women deal with certain things. So I tried to like empower her, and I was like, girl, and when I interviewed her and she did a book signing about this book that was supposed to be like her heartbreak and her overcoming, and now Peter was at the book signing. Peter was there. So I'm just like, girl, you're not getting over. Peter's right there. He came a little late, but he was right there. And they were all cool. And then I saw Tara at an event at an empowerment conference, and she's still talking to Peter too. So no one's upset. I don't know if it was all for the TV. I don't know, but I'm not, I'm just, you know, I feel, to me, I gave Kirk the number one space because he and Rashida are married. Now, Amina has kids by Peter. Yes, she has two, I think now, but Tara did too. Tara had the kids with him first, and then he ended up marrying Amina, which really was a kick in the face to Tara. That he married the side chick. It was crazy. It was wild. The reason I still say Kirk is worse is because Kirk and Rashida were married and have been married for 25 years. Now, there's a couple of things that we can say about this situation. I remember working with Rashida years ago, and I found out that her and Kirk were married. He was the label she was signed to. He would always be there. And Kirk did have a reputation of being like a very um solid dude. Like, he was considered attractive. A lot of women liked him. Um, but I didn't know they were married. When it made sense. I mean, obviously we knew that something was going on because he was always there with her. When people found out they were married, there was so much respect, but they'd already been doing that for like 10 years. They've been together 25 years, right? Um, when I put up this article, a lot of people responded, and a lot of people were telling me, from um, behind the scenes, that this is all for the storyline. It probably is, because I don't see Rashida as being a woman. I don't see Rashida on the same way as I see the other ladies that we're talking about. I think that she's very smart. I think that she does have a good sense of self. I think that I just put her in a different category just from being around her, seeing how she carries herself. First of all, the fact that she doesn't go back and forth with women, even when there's some type of issue on the show, you never see Rashida playing herself. You know, um, you never see her. You never see another woman kind of get the best of her. She just carries herself with a lot of class. So I'm saying that if someone's going to say, Crystal, why are you saying she's different? Then I don't. Rashida doesn't carry herself like Mimi Faust. She does not carry herself like Jocelyn. She does not carry herself like Amina or Tara, right? We did see someone mention the fight with Tara smacking Amina. That was Amina was really hurt, but I feel like she just kept signing up for the hurt, because any fool would have left that situation with Peter. But Rashida doesn't carry herself like any of those women. When this situation came up, like 6 years ago, by the way, with the stripper named Jasmine, suggesting that she had a baby by Kurt. Now, Mona Scott is someone that enjoys and encourages, just like Carlos King, the dramatics, right? So it's no surprise that they jumped in on that storyline, and it made Kurt look crazy, because not just cheating on Rashida with a stripper, but getting the girl pregnant. And also, if you guys remember, Kirk was kind of like acting like he didn't really know if he wanted to be married still, and he was feeling not appreciated, and he was kind of out there, and like he was hanging out in with Scrappy and Benzino. I'm not even going to address Benzino. I just refuse to even consider him worthy of conversation. Um, so Kirk and Rashida got back together. Kirk has said over and over again that people give him a hard time, that he looks like the villain. But sir, you signed up for that. You have a woman who has the respect of most of her peers and the public because of the that she carries herself like a lady. And even if you guys are in cahoots on this, there is a baby. Obviously, there's a real child, and it just looks crazy. Now, even if Kurt and Rashida have an open relationship, fine. But the fact that you guys are not presenting it that way on television, it still makes you look disrespectful to your wife of 25 years, your beautiful wife of 25 years, who has stayed by you, they have been the money that the couple has been able to have has come as a result of Rashida's fame. Rashida has a definitely has a local fan base. I would say even probably a regional fan base at this point, because Love and Hip Hop is probably bigger than that. But initially, she came onto Love and Hip Hop because she definitely had regional fame as a hip hop artist. That's when I first met her. As she had records out. She was a force to be reckoned with in the South because she was just model pretty, like looks like a model, beautiful girl. And you usually don't see artists, female rap artists that are talking gutter and looking like Rashida. But the thing I like about her is she will say this on the record. When you see her in person, she's always carries herself with the utmost respect. That created a very organic fan base that made people want her to be on the show. And also, people gravitate towards her on Love and Hip Hop. She's a favorite. She's a consistent. So I feel like even if the relationship is open, they should do something to where she doesn't look crazy. Because he's definitely going to look like the bad guy until you guys tell us he's not. Until you tell us he's not, then he is, right? Now, the fact that this girl is now coming back and saying that Kurt is still trying to sleep with her, asking her to come to the door naked and just all this kind of stuff, it makes Rashida look crazy. She said a little something to her on the show like it was beneath her, but at this point, we're all looking at her like, girl. Now, they do have a 25-year marriage, and I want to say it's obvious they're still together because they went to the VMAs together. The VMAs aired a couple of nights ago, and they talked on the red carpet about what it takes to have a long, successful marriage. Kurt mentioned the fact that if you ask your grandparents and older people in your family, how did they stay married for years and years and years, then they would tell you, nothing was perfect. And I agree with that. Marriage is not perfect. And obviously, a lot of the relationships in the past did involve infidelity. I mean, we've been talking about that a lot here on this channel, even with some of the shows, Family Empire, and some of the shows that we watch. That's always a bit, Lord knows, Love and Marriage Huntsville, child. So I think that infidelity is a lot of times a part of long-term marriages, but again, it's not to say that there's a way to respectfully cheat. We had that conversation on Friday, but I do think embarrassing your wife is never the right move, right? And if they're okay doing it for the sake of a coin, more power to them, I guess. But I think when you look at the fact that so many people, Love and Hip Hop is a franchise that is built on dysfunction. When you look at the fact that they were like the only couple that, no one has anything bad to ever say about Rashida. The only person that's ever said anything bad about Rashida is K. Michelle. That's it. And the only reason K. Michelle said something bad about her was because Rashida didn't believe that the guy that K. Michelle was accusing of being physically violent with her really was, because Rashida knew him and didn't know that side of him. I respect her for telling her truth. Jumping on a bandwagon is not that, she was like, that's not what I know. I don't believe that. And she has a right to say that. But that's the only time someone has ever had an issue with Rashida. That says a lot, to be able to stay on a reality show for this long, that is all about dysfunction and everybody else going crazy and shaking tables and playing themselves and all kinds of stuff. And she's never done that. The only thing that she's ever done is stayed with the man that has had a child on her and now is looking like he's trying to spin the block, right? But I just hope that because they were considered, like, first of all, they are older than most people on the show. Rashida doesn't look like it, but she definitely is, a woman of a certain age. And Kurt is 55. It just looks silly for a 55-year-old to be trying to cheat with this little young stripper. And and when you have a amazing wife, you know what I mean? Like, you got a wife that's held you down. You have a wife that has accepted your children from other relationships, welcomed them in, created a family, created an economic system for the both of you. Like, it's just, I feel like Kirk fumbled the bag at a higher rate than other reality stars have fumbled. A lot of guys are cheating on women that They may or may not marry, may or may not make good wives, probably not. But this man is doing that to his rib. That's why he gets the number one spot, because he's fumbling with his one. Like, who does that? Um, I mean, I think that um I'm sorry. I think that that is what makes him take the number one spot when it comes to being trifling. Because you don't you don't you don't fumble the queen. If you're gonna fumble, you can't compare Mimi Faust, that created a porn with Nico, to Rashida. Can't do that. It's just not. It's apples and oranges. May not even be the same fruit. It may be like apples and Laffy Taffy. That's what it is. It's apples and Laffy Taffy. Do what you want with the Laffy Taffy. Do not disrespect this queen over here. She carries herself that way. She is that. Nobody ever, there's a level of respect that Rashida has, and her only blemish is her relationship. So if that is what they are doing in tandem, please let us know, because we actually were holding you guys on a higher standard. If you don't want to be on that pedestal, let us know. But I think there are so many women that want Rashida to do better. But at the end of the day, she's been married to him for 25 years. That is a success story, just in the sense of being able to stay focused and remain focused on one goal. If she's okay with it, I'm a big believer in, you never tell someone what to do with their marriage. So I don't believe that anyone should say that she should get a divorce. I do think that Kirk should be held accountable. What is happening? Like, is this something that you all are okay with? But doing it the way they've done it, it looks crazy. And I feel like he deserves the number one spot. No one else. I'm Scrappy. Nobody else has had a Rashida to fumble. So I'm going to give it to him as being the biggest joker. And that's what it is. Um, I'm trying to think, I thought there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about today with pop culture power. Besides, I talked about the fact last week that Phaedra is um, headed to, oh, I know what it was. Phaedra is headed to Dancing with the Stars. I also wanted to talk about Nene, because Nene hosted, or she co-hosted an Emmy Awards after party. And it occurred to me because, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of Nene's on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I just don't like the whole bully thing. She was just always to me like a bully. But I will say that her hosting this Emmy Awards after party proves that she still is very relevant, and even beyond reality TV. She has a show on Lifetime that is like Outrageous Love with Nene Leakes. But I think that this Emmy Awards appearance showed that they're not really maximizing her to her full capability. I think in order to get the best out of Nene, you have to just let her be Nene, which is super over the top and super fabulous. So all that personality that people love. But being able to do that in that type of environment, in a mainstream, very crossover environment, proves that she still has what it takes to be a star. And I hope that she gets an opportunity to do that. She obviously won't be able to go back to Bravo. And if she did, it would be ridiculous to me, because when you sue a network and accuse them of being racist because you're not getting your way, I don't think you should be able to sort of spin the block or double back on that. But I do think there's an opportunity, a wide open opportunity for one of these shows, maybe E News, maybe one of these mainstream cable networks, to give her an opportunity to be a personality, because like something like a Dish Nation, but with fashion or something, because people are really loving her. I definitely see, like, on social, she has people really just love seeing what she's doing. They want to know about her new relationship. They want to know what she's up to. And so I give her credit. Like that was a huge move, a very good look. And she did a great job. She looked great. And so we'll see. But I definitely think the show that they have her on with Lifetime just does not, it's a waste because nobody like it's her and average couples. Nene is not the person to talk to average couples about real life problems. She's the over the top, gotta be over the top. Everything is over the top, from the plastic surgery to the wigs to the body. Everything is over the top. So putting her on a show where she's talking to real life people, it's kind of like dimming her light. She needs to be someplace where she can be loud, proud, and in control like she was at the Emmys. And I think that would do really well. I don't think they're to give her credit. A lot of people call her the OG of, the housewives. And I think that you'd be hard pressed to find another personality that would be able to hold down hosting, the Emmy Awards after show. I think that she definitely, is in a class of her own when it comes to housewives fame. Um, I don't know, maybe Portia. I know Portia's had some really good looks. Portia's just a very, very, very pretty girl, so she's gonna get those looks. But Nene is not working with exactly the same toolbox that Portia is, in age or anything, and she's killing it. So kudos to her, and I hope she gets an opportunity to do more of that, so we could see her in a capacity that suits her. So yeah, so that's my pop culture power wrap up for today. I want to know what you guys think about Kirk and Rashida. I actually talked to Kirk during the because he brought cars. He collects like old school cars, and he, you know, I know that he really loves his wife. He loves his family. I just there's more to it than we know. But unfortunately, if you guys are playing this up and this is a plan that you had with the public not knowing, all we know is that it's a bad reflection on Black marriage, right? Because you have a wife that's constantly being embarrassed by a husband over a woman that is definitely not worth the trouble. Unfortunately, now there's a child involved and he deserves everything. And I really hope that they wouldn't use like the whole idea of having this child as a storyline to stay relevant. I just don't want to believe that that's the case, right? I don't want to believe that that's the case, but um we don't know. Eventually time will tell. Just like um Mimi eventually, like first she told us that the the porn tape that she did was leaked. Eventually time revealed that it was planted and they did it on purpose. They're trying to make money and trying to go viral, which they did, but now what? You went viral, probably made a few coins. Those coins are probably gone and it's still out there. You can Google it. Shower rod, all that stuff. So yeah, that's it. Sunny Rain asked, what did I think about Shannon Sharp's leaked video? I thought it was in extremely bad taste. I also don't think that it was an accident. Um, I think Shannon Sharp is way too sharp to accidentally leak um of audio of him. And I also think that the sound of the audio sounded very performative, like someone that knew they were performing. Now, sometimes that could be just for the man, whether the person was performing for him or for Instagram, who knows? We probably won't know that. But I did think it was in poor taste. And I was surprised because that is not what I would love to see from or hear, with Shannon Sharp. I don't think any of us want to hear that. But yeah, I don't think it was an accident. And the hilarious thing to me was just watching the scrambling of him. So right after it's leaked, he puts a post up that says his account was hacked. Well, sir, your account was not hacked, because if your account was hacked, you would not be able to tell us on your account that it's hacked. Because when a person's account is hacked, the hacker takes over and they don't have access to their account. So that wasn't the smartest move. That almost like confirmed the whole dumb jock thing. Don't want to say that, but Shannon, that was a stupid move. Then he comes out later and says, okay, it wasn't hacked. They just told me to say that. Who is they? Who is they? Because I cannot imagine your team telling you to say that when they realize that that makes no sense. I think that he did it. I think that he put it out. I think that he got nervous because of the response. And then he put out the fact that it was hacked. And then he realized that nobody believed that. He copped up, he owned up to it. And so all of these things show us a blundering Shannon Sharpe. And I don't know if this is in response to there being rumors that he was not heterosexual. I don't know why he would do that. And I also feel like when I watched Ocho Cinco's response, that let me know that this was definitely not an accident. He's saying that he thought it was disrespectful. He didn't appreciate it. But he believes in second chances. So that's telling us that he knows that there was more to that than just an accidental, I threw my phone down on the bed and people overheard my lovemaking. Like, no. I think pressure gets to everybody. So maybe that was his way of trying to prove something, which didn't really prove anything. Um, unfortunately, it takes the emphasis off of his show, which is amazing. I think he has probably one of the most impactful shows, on social this year. And it definitely started with Cat Williams. Who knew that Cat Williams going to the Club Shay Shay, so many things would happen based on that interview. And then it would even affect the host of Club Shay Shay. He ended up getting caught up in the 2024 BS himself. It was just you can't make this stuff up, people. You can't make it up. It is just it was just it was disappointing. Like I said, I think it takes the focus away from um his show, which I think he was doing a great job. I think he has great conversation with people. He gets out of the way and allows them to express themselves. And I think because he is a respected athlete, and athletes are just celebrated in every form of entertainment. Like people love athletes. And he's an interesting fella. He's definitely an interesting fella. Very country, very very simple, very country, very genuine, it seems. Um, very simple, just very simple. But sometimes that's what you need, right? And I also blame Cat Williams. I blame Cat Williams for starting this year off. And I think that it is his fault that we are in the place that we are on all fronts. So much happened when he said this was going to be the year of truth. We did not know that we were not going to be able to handle all this truth. But the truth keeps coming. It keeps coming. It keeps coming. So I expect it to continue. We will be back next Monday with more pop culture power. If there is something that you think we should talk about, please let me know in the comments. Make sure that you're tuned in on tomorrow at 8:30 for the second episode of Let's Get Crystal Clear. We are talking about should the R. Kelly verdict, and if the parents and caregivers or guardians of the young women and perhaps young men involved in the lawsuit should have been held liable at some point. I have a psychiatrist that is joining me, and we're going to have a real conversation about that. So please join me tomorrow at 8:30 for that. And then, of course, on Wednesday, Scorpio Mo and I are back with the Dating Diaries, and we have a couple of guests joining us. So that should be a lot of fun as well. So anyway, I love you guys for watching. This has been fun. Please let me know what you think about JLo and Ben Affleck. Do you think that they are compatible? Do you think they could potentially get back together, or are you over it? Are you like me and want her I want her to sit her behind down, but she's not going to. I can attest to that. JLo is not going to sit her behind down. So if she's not going to sit down, I want her to go back to A-Rod. I think that Kirk and Rashida either need to let us know what's going on, or I'm going to give Kirk that number one spot and he's just going to have to hold it, because you cannot fumble your wife of 25 years in that way and not be seen as disrespectful. And Shannon Sharp, we don't want to hear that no more. Okay? That's not what we asked for. Nope. After a certain point in life, your audio or video of your intimacy probably won't be received the same. What if, yeah, I don't want to name any names because y'all are going to say I'm being mean, but I think there's a good rule of thumb. If you are over age 45, we don't want to hear nor see. Hear nor see evil. Hear no evil, see no evil. Please keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. I believe that those type of activities are reserved for the young. If you're young and you're together, you know, there are people that, you know, like think of the difference. What if Chris Brown leaked an audio? Imagine how excited women would have been. Imagine the difference in the response. It just proves it's just the sun is set on that time. You no longer are able to do things like that, Shannon Sharp. We don't want that. Keep it. Keep it in your personal archives. I'll keep mine in my personal archive. I know no one wants to see or hear it. It's okay. But me and my husband do. But you don't share after a certain point. That's not what we're looking for. And he's obviously past that point. So that's all I have to say about that. I hope you guys will tune in tomorrow and Wednesday, and again back on Friday for a recap of Love and Marriage Detroit. I have another one of we talked to Christina and Brandon. I am going to be talking with Anthony Thompson, who I actually know and have known for years. That is on Love and Marriage Detroit. So I'm going to be talking to him about this new season, and then we're going to definitely enjoy a recap of the show on Friday. You guys have an amazing week. Don't do that, Daliaya. Don't do it. First of all, Mr. Denzel Washington would never. Someone in the comments asked me, what if it was Denzel? Now we know that the Honorable Mr. Denzel Washington would never do anything like that. So we don't even have to think about that, because that is beneath him. Because he is not, he's a Christian man. He has gotten his life in a place where he is a role model and the exemplary, just an exemplary model of Christ-like behavior. He and his beautiful wife, Pauletta, and we would never even think of him in that way. And I, just totally not in that space. He is a gentleman, and he seriously is. I say he's a Christian, but if you watch Denzel interviews as of late over the last 10 years or so, he definitely speaks to, about his walk with God, and he's just a wonderful example of a man. Yeah, he would never do anything like that. Not he probably has a flip phone anyway. You get off, AJ Travels. Get off. Off you go. Don't you say that he has a flip phone. He probably does. He probably does. That's what's up. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today on Pop Culture Power. I'll be back next week to talk about more trending topics and how they are doing, how everything is faring, more reality show hype and all that good stuff. But like I said, tomorrow, let's get crystal clear. The R. Kelly verdict. Should the caretakers or guardians or parents of those young women have been held responsible, specifically the ones that took them to the concerts? What do you have to say about that? Tune in, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 8:30. All right? Have a great Monday night.